Hi everyone, it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. So it is December and all sorts of exciting things are happening, and so I'm going to start this month off with this flip through of Sandgran and the Midnight Party. So I recommend that you get cozy, maybe get a cup of tea or coffee and just kind of hang out with me, because this is going to be a little flip through and read along with this story, because knowing the story I think will be nice, and it will also kind of help you understand how this book was put together. So this book is based on a children's story called Sandgran and the Midnight Party, which you will learn a little bit about soon. To begin, the cover has been covered with this absolutely beautiful locally made marbled paper that has blue, teal, gold, purple, and a bit of black. It is so beautiful. So I used the original children's storybook book boards and covered them with this paper and built a nice new big spine that's about 2.5 inches, and it has 7 signatures. Then I made this dangle. I spent quite a bit of time with this dangle yesterday, just really enjoying the process of making it. I find making these to be quite honestly delightful. Just sitting and picking through all my treasures and deciding which ones to include. So I'll tell you a little bit about what's here. So we have some shashi mirrors, some little tiny giraffe buttons, because this book is full of children's toys and creatures, some fun little leather blue tassels. This is a little woodcut of this cute little snail. There are some very shiny, sequiny little circles here, some birds' eggs, some beautiful found objects, jewelry pieces. This is a ceramic button that I made. There are vintage buttons. There are those little mushroom birds. Beautiful beads, little bits of fabric bundles, because there's a little bit of a patchwork theme, some very exquisite beads and shells. Here's another shell. It's quite beautiful. So yeah, it's a lovely dangle. So then on to the cover of the book. So Sandgran herself is sort of like a fairy godmother to this little girl who's having trouble sleeping, and she wears this patchwork like sort of housecoat style robe. It's very cute. And so I took the image from the book, from the main page of the book, like the first, like there was sort of like a fly page at the front and the back, and it had this image on it. So I took this and I sort of plasticized it using glossy accents. I did the same to this little moon, and in back here I had actually sewn a little patchwork quilt to go behind the whole thing. The eyelets that attach here to hold on to this vintage seam binding they are white eyelets. So let's go ahead and jump on into the book. Okay, we'll just put that up. Okay, so the front and back covers, I kept them just as flat board. I didn't add pockets or anything. I just wanted to keep this very simple and come on into the journal. And so there's some beautiful fabric that I batiqued several years ago. That is what I've used as my backing fabric on this spine. And this is just a beautiful paper. So it's the same at front and back. So here we are, Sandgran and the Midnight Party, Wendy and Oliver Chadwick. I'm bored. I'm fed up. I bet I'm the only person in the whole world who's still awake, thought Elise, peering at her sleeping dog. She had finished the chocolate she had hidden under her pillow, looked at her library book, and counted sheep by the score. She felt so lonely. The only sound was the ticking of the clock. It's no good. I'll never get to sleep. There's these little lambs down here. This is dyed paper. Here I've added these little fold down kind of children's book pages of sprites. This is a little blueberry sprite and Rackham's sprite. And then we have some coffee dyed paper. And here's the picture of Elise sort of frustratedly lying in her bed. Here's the clock and all her little creatures, her dog, and the moon outside, and I've stamped a thistle here. Extraordinary things began to happen. The moon grew larger, the houses outside changed to castles, and her toys blinked their eyes. At midnight something rustled, and as midnight struck, something rustled, and out of the shadows stepped a jolly old woman in a colorful patchwork cloak. "Oh, Sandgran, it's you," said Elise. "I just can't get to sleep." The Sandwoman moved forward to sprinkle sleep dust in Elise's eyes. It made them itch, but still Elise was wide awake. "Oh dear," she wailed. We have a little cluster here with this little frog and coffee-dyed paper. This pocket is a shadow puppet. It says, "Wave your hands to make the bird fly." And this is a little journal card of this botanical. You will see several themes throughout this book. This is Louisa Heinzel digital paper. And this is from a vintage children's book of this sweet little sort of groundhog mom and her little babies. This is a paper that sort of reminds me of some very fancy kind of bedding with this red ribbon. And then here we have an image from a book, The Princess and the Pea, about this princess who, much like myself, required a very cozy bed with not a single lump in it. So yeah, it's another whole story, but it's relevant because this story is about sleep and other things. We have a little tarot card here of this queen and this crow who's kind of sinking, another little story, and then this journal card. Another theme in this book, other than nighttime, is like toys and creatures. So this is a collage card that I made from a collage board, and I've added this little antique chicken on wheels and this label that says, "The moon is always there, even when we can't see it." And then another children's book page of this little monkey that has a lemonade stand, and he's riding along on a camel with an umbrella. Umbrellas are another little theme in this book. And then we have a little hedgehog pocket here on some more Louisa Heinzel paper. And then this lovely tag. So this here is one of my depictions of Sandgran. So there's several grandmothers throughout this book that have all taken on the depiction as Sandgran. Lemons are also talked about in this book, and we have a little leaf here. Ledger paper on the back of that tag. And then here we have a little pocket here, and then inside of it, these are, this is not important. This is a scratch away piece of art, basically. So you take something that is blunt, like, the end of a coin or a ruler that's got a little scratch to it, and you scratch it away like a scratch ticket, and you have this beautiful image underneath that you reveal. And this is a coffee dyed page. And another coffee dyed page. This is a lovely piece of painty paper that I got in Happy Mail from my good friend Red Parrot, and I just thought the colors were so perfect for this book. It was done on calendar paper, so there's a little pocket that I made there, and I added this up here, magical vibes, and some silver, and then we have this tag inside that has these little rustic Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls, and a little collage in back, and some of my tea-dyed wedding dress lace. Some fun coffee dyed paper. And this is another page from the book about sprites, and it's about the language of sprites and their mission statement. And on back it is green, and it has these little sprites. Hopefully you can see them. I know it's a little bit, it can be a little glary. This paper is a little bit shiny. And then we have some blue dyed paper, and here I just stamped this sweet little bunny. Then on this side we have a pocket, and we have another collage journal card with another image of Sandgran, another depiction that I've decided would be Sandgran. Then we have another page here from Sandgran. So this is the page where we see this image on the front of the book. Sandgran frowned, adjusted her spectacles, and thought, "Flibberty gibbet, child, if the sleep dust doesn't work, the cure is a midnight journey." "Midnight journey," repeated Elise. "Where to?" For answer, Sandgran led Elise to a huge wooden door. In the center was a most remarkable face, whose eyes seemed to stare right through her. "How curious," she thought. "I never noticed it before." "Come on," said Sandgran, turning the handle. We have a little owl here and a little light and some dyed paper. This is a little pocket, another shadow puppet that says shift your fourth finger and pinky to make the birds talk, and some more tea-dyed lace. I felt like shadow puppets are something that children can do in the dark with a lamp in their room, so I felt like they fit into this book. This is a cabbage dyed page of a large format encyclopedia. And then we have this journal card of all of these old teddy bears. Then here we have a pocket, and it says written in the stars. And I've also used some Pyro pages in here because just the feeling of the pages, the dreamlike nature of Pyro, and the vegetation and the botanicals go along with the story. And then we have a journal card. For nothing to happen, something has to happen first. And then we have this owl here. And then another pocket with botanicals on this side and more of Pyro here and all these vegetables and fruits. And then another children's toy, the Pussycat 10 Pins game. And this is from a book about antique toys, and it's a large journal card. And I just love those cats. I thought they were so cute. Some purple dyed paper, and here we have Sandgran leading Elise into this magical door. Take a look at the face of this creature. Isn't that so nice? It's beautiful. We have little fairies sort of sneaking under the door and looking, and little creatures over here looking. Oh, it's wonderful, cried Elise. Creamy stone steps glistened in the flickering torchlight. They began to climb down, winding and twisting their way until at last they reached the edge of an alarming precipice. This is step number 3295. Now we can take off, announced Sandgran, and clasping Elise's hand firmly in her own, she leapt into space. And here I have stamped 3295 as the step number. And this is a flip up, and we have some little fish here on black walnut dyed paper. And then on this side, we have a beautiful Louisa Heinzel paper. And then on top of it, I've created a large piece of stationery here. This is from another children's book. And it's this big tree with these mushrooms. And we have a little butterfly there and this little elfin boy and some blackberries. And it is just held there with a rusty paper clip. And then in here we have this little pocket with these paper lanterns. One has the moon inside, and then another little image here that I took from a fine art book that reminded me of Sandgran. And then we have this belly band across this Louisa Heinzel paper. And then this is from another children's storybook, sort of this little girl looking at at a window of a tree or into a tree. All things dreamlike, magical, and childlike. Another black walnut dyed page, and here I've got a wraparound of this beautiful vintage botanical image. And then some purple paper, and then I took this tea-dyed celestial paper and just added it there as a nice little sort of journal card stationery paper. And we have this blue fish swimming along on this purple paper. Another Pyro page. This one tips out so that we have Pyro in the sky at night here. And some tea-dyed paper. This is, or actually cabbage-dyed rather. This is the large format encyclopedia. This pocket is made from book page of these oceanic creatures. You'll see why in a little bit. Then this is an 8 o'clock page. At 8 o'clock we have our breakfast from a vintage children's book from the 1950s. Clocks are another important aspect of this story. This is a little page that I purposely sort of tore in half to make it like a tattered kind of page, and then added some fun washi tape and stars. And then here's another image of our Sandgran here, and some little puppies, a couple little, I believe, Pekingese puppies. And then an orange and purple dyed lined page. And here we have a page from Sandgran of a fairy, and then Sandgran and Elise jumping over this gap here once they enter the door. They have an umbrella, and there's a little guy up here sitting there with some pink cake. An umbrella floated them down gently past fairy-like figures and flying objects objects that looked good enough to eat. Then they began to spiral round and round, faster and faster. "Stand by," said Gran. "It looks as if we're just in time." Elise looked down to see beautiful sunlit countryside, and directly beneath them, a grand turreted castle enclosed by a ribbon of sparkling blue water. Here's some of that sparkling blue water paper. And then this is from a coloring book, lots of botanicals and a lovely house there. And it's floral on the back. And then we have some black walnut dyed paper and another page from Sandgran. Here she is with the umbrella floating down towards this castle. So again, speaking back to maybe this castle. All at once they seemed to be falling even faster. Below them, Elise saw the most curious creatures imaginable, with an emerald green serpent leading a procession across a drawbridge. Nearby, a chef trundled a wheelbarrow containing a pink birthday cake. Elise was so amazed that she let go of Sandgran's hand and plunged headlong into the moat. Splash! And then here we have this fun pocket, all blue themed, with tickets and library cards and such. And this is some beautiful digital paper. And then this is a little sort of journal card that I made from scrapbook paper that tips up. When you tip it up, there's a little envelope here. This is from Release the Crafton, from her Celestial Envelopes, this cute little envelope. And then inside we have this little bit of writing space that's cut like a little stamp. And then on this side, we have some beautiful Louisa Heinzel paper and coffee dyed paper. And this large journal card has a clock and an octopus. It's collaged. It says, "The beauty of nature is everywhere." And then we have this little 3D moth here flying on this beautiful paper. This is from another children's book of this little girl floating on a cloud touching a star. And then on this side, so this page is kind of like a curiosity cabinet in some ways. So down here we have a pocket. It says, "The sun watches what I do, but the moon knows all my secrets." And there's some book spine here, and this is a pocket. Then we have cabbage dyed paper up above it that creates another pocket. This little antique doll, front and back, she's like a little, over the page kind of embellishment. But when you take her off, you can actually flip this paper up for some more hidden journaling space, and it's cabbage dyed, I think I said that. But then underneath it, we have a couple of things. So we have "I love you to the moon" and back on this little tag. And then we have a little tarot card here of this upside down and right side up beautiful castle. So that goes back down. Then behind it, we have a large pocket, right? So there's a rainbow back there. And then I've slipped in there this piece of ephemera that I made in a Tuesday 10, which is this open door butterfly piece of ephemera that you can write inside of, and just pop the little butterfly wing inside the slot there, and it's jelly printed on back. So that just pops in there. Let me put the doll down for a moment. There we go. Okay, and then the doll just goes right over here, and she's backed in vintage book page. So there. Then over here we have this little gold pocket with this little frog here and some book spine. And this is a collage tag with this sweet little girl with her doll, and it says, "Never stop looking up." A little piece of paper there. And then this is this is a crazy piece of paper. So this is a collage that I made as part of an art project for an art challenge that I took part in last year. I'm trying to remember what it was called. I can't right now. But anyways, the objective was to use these clipped out eyes and make this sort of wild creature forest. And so this is what I made. And I've had this piece of art in my studio for a long time, and I felt like I wanted to put it into something eventually. And this book felt right because of the creatures and the dreamscape. And actually this book is spoken for. And once I knew who it was going to, I wanted to include it for that reason as well. So we have this little pocket down here, and this fish back here, and this is a lovely tag of this very beautiful flying man. He's very dreamlike. And then over here we have the other side of that Curiosa style page. So here we have another tarot card and another tag that says "Take Me to the Moon." And then again, the paper does flip up so that you can do some writing on here. And then when you flip it down, it basically just lies down, and we have a pocket up here, and then the other side of the rainbow. And then this is protected by a magic spell. So this is a collage journal card. And I felt like this could be Sandgran and her sister, or some magical thing that was happening to them. More coffee dyed paper. And another little pocket on Louisa Heinzel paper with that beautiful moth. And this is from an old children's book, and it just says 1 o'clock on back. And I felt like this could be kind of a domestic image of Sandgran. I really liked the yellows in this, the chartreuse with the blue. And then we have a little collage pocket of a gate with roses with some ledger that's actually from a 1920s scrapbook made in, from a 1850s ledger book. So you can see some of the writing of the ledger there. And then we have this little tag that says, "Love is the one thing that transcends time and space." And it just tucks into the side and pops out this little torn edge. And then we have this tag here with these little cuties with their umbrellas. Again, part of the book theme. And then some pink and coffee dyed paper. This is black walnut dyed with this little frog. Another coloring book page with the moon. And then some blue paper, and then clipped on here we just have, I was thinking about grandmothers and the kind of treasures that I've known them to have, and my grandmother had lots of glassware, so I made this little lacy glassware kind of card, and I felt like it would go in here. It's fun to think about the things that your grandparents collected, especially your grandmother, in my case. So then we have some dyed paper here. And another of those little pockets in that rosy gate. And then this is a piece of stationery that I cut from a children's book. Just a beautiful image of kids on a teeter-totter with a little bee house over there. And it says "The Real Mother Goose" on back. And that's the book it's from. I considered covering that up and making it like a solid page, but I thought, no, it's nice to leave it there because it's about storytelling, and so is this book. And then we have a little frog holding onto a cork here and a dragonfly. This is another page from Sandgran with all these creatures here outside the castle. The water cascaded around her as she dived down and somersaulted very slowly, once, twice, and landed with a gentle bump in the bed of the moat. Elise looked up to see a mermaid riding a seahorse. Smiling sweetly, the mermaid held out a shining necklace of tiny shells and pearls and said, "Take this, Elise, you'll be needing it later." Then she swam past. We have mushrooms and some lace on this coffee dyed page, a seahorse here, and the magnificent sprite. So another page on the anatomy of a sprite, another sprite page. And then we have here Elise as a mermaid on a seahorse's back, lots of fish. Gently, Elise floated to the surface. Sandgran was paddling furiously toward her in an upturned umbrella. "Careless of you," she said sharply. "No matter, you've got to change into your party dress anyway. Concentrate on the music and you'll be dry in a jiffy." Music filled the warm summer air, and sure enough, she was dry by the time they reached the shore. "Why do I need a party dress?" wondered Elise. A cheeky, nut-brown face peered at them from behind an old wooden chest and answered. "You'll see soon enough," said Pan, putting his pipes to his lips. Some purple dyed paper. This little pocket says "Talking to the Moon," and then it's on a children's book page of these two pigs. And then we have this man sleeping in a field with a bird on his head. This is another of those celestial papers. I've just clipped it on with a rusty paper clip. And then some beautiful digital paper. And this is an image from a children's book called The Night Garden, and I've added it here. It's got this beautiful, what are those called? It's a bunny, obviously. It's a tree cut to look like a bunny. I'm trying to think of what those kind of trees are called. I can't remember. And then we have a celestial sticker here of this. This is the little prince flying away with all these birds attached to a string. And then a little image of a fairy with some botanicals here. And this is a beautiful botanical page from a book, an art book. Then we have a little clock pocket with this little butterfly. Some beautiful digital blue paper. Another clock side tuck pocket with a tag that says, "The moon is magic for the soul and light for the senses." And it's a collage tag. And this is fun because it's handwriting. It says the princess, the different, the divine. And then we have a little pocket here from some painty paper on this. These are goats on this children's book page. And then another little celestial pocket for Release the Crafton. It has this little butterfly card inside of it. And that just pops in there. And some purple dyed paper with black walnut paper with stamps of old light fixtures, light bulbs. Cabbage and purple dyed papers. Another of our sprites here. This is the basic sprite body. And then the common orchid sprite. Coffee dyed paper, some green dyed paper. And now we're back to Elise here with these water lilies and lily pads. She's in the water here. And then we have Sandgran riding along in her umbrella with the goose handle. And then this beautiful bird with its crown up top. Sandgran took Elise's hand, and Pan's music carried them over the meadows as lightly as butterflies. At last they caught up with the procession at the top of a steep hill. "Hurrah!" cheered the creatures as they pointed ahead excitedly. "What is it?" asked Elise. Then she saw it, quite far away, nestling at the edge of a dark forest, a higgledy-piggledy sort of house. And beside the front door, something was waving and beckoning to them. The procession waved back as it hopped, skipped, and jumped along. Some tea-dyed paper. And this little children's book page image of a little moon boy. I made a pocket out of him on coloring book page paper. And then this collage tag with these two little like sprightly elf people on a bird's back and some fun collaging, some fabric. The cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff. And this beautiful digital page. And then this little tarot card here of this girl sleeping and all these cardinals above her head. And then this is from a children's book page. I had to include it. Look how magical that is. All these little fairies going around this pole. And then we have this mouse in the background and the moon and some beautiful flowers. Fairy maypole. This is a beautiful botanical image on a cabbage dyed large format dictionary page. And then another image of Sandgran here. We have an ostrich with a top hat and a snake and a pig and a chef, and they're all standing outside of that higgledy-piggledy house. Lumbering up to greet them came the oddest creature Elise had ever seen. "Welcome," it said in a warm, treacly voice. How sweet is that? Treacly. For those of you who don't know, treacle is like an English toffee candy. It's wonderful. Turning to Elise, it added, "And especially to you. I am the Glyptodon, and you are my guest of honor at the tea party. Take the cake, jump on my back, and we'll lead the way." Elise obeyed and clambered up the big brown shell. The Glyptodon plodded ponderously forward, swinging from side to side to side. "I feel like a princess." And then there's more coffee dyed paper there, some pink dyed paper, and some botanicals from a beautiful book. More coffee and cabbage dyed papers. More of that lovely big dictionary, and we have some thistle here. Then we have a little pocket that says "Dream by Moonlight." It's on this digital paper, and it has these two gentlemen with the moons above their head, and that's a journal card. And more beautiful paper here with a bunny, and then a coloring book page. Then over here, this says, this has an image of Sandgran. This image is from an old art book, or hat book actually. This reminded me of Sandgran's hat, that baskety shape. And this says, "And take a long look. You might just you might just see tiny Mrs. Small with her family in the tall and tangled weeds around the old and withered tree. And it's a tuck spot that has an image of Sandgran here. And so we just tuck that in. Then it tips out this way. And we have this little envelope here from Release the Craftin', and it's got a little bit of writing space on back on that little stamp of botanical. And that just tucks in this teeny bitty envelope. And then we have this little image of the moon. It's like a little booklet you can write on, and it has the poem at the back. Mr. Moon, oh moon, Mr. Moon, when you coming down? Down on the hilltop, down in the glen, out in the clearing to play with little men. Moon, Mr. Moon, when you coming down? By Bliss Carman. That just tucks in there. You could also write on the back of this paper bag. Then we made a little tuck spot there with this journal card that has some fun book spine on it. It says, almost forgotten, old and withered tree, its gnarled roots hidden by weeds, but loved and cherished. And that just tucks in here. Then we have some tea-dyed paper, green dyed paper, and then we have the Glyptodon here with Elise on top. At last the party could begin. What a feast! All the best games, too. Pan played oranges and lemons on the pipes, and what a jostling and bustling there was. Sandgran danced with the penguin, who tripped over her umbrella. The Glyptodon challenged Elise to a game of snap. They played so many games that he grew hoarse from laughing, and in between great gulps of lemonade shouted snap whenever it was the right moment or not. Then we have this water lily paper. And then this is a large clip-on journal card. On the back we have the moon, and then on the front here we have this butterfly, and that just clips on here. There we go. And then this little page with the moon here and some flowers on the back. This is some ledger paper. This is just a beautiful scrapbook paper page. And then we have this little moon. This pocket, this little moon is from a children's book, and it actually glows in the dark. And then we have this journal card of this gentleman with the moon above his head. Some tea-dyed paper. This is a pyro page that I put a little ruche in there just to make it fit in the book and add a little bit of cuteness. Some lacy coffee dyed paper, a little 3D flower there, and then another page of Sandgran with like sort of everything in the book all here, just everything. Very fun page. And then there were more and more games and more laughter. It was exhausting. Oh, yawned Elise, I'm tired. And she crept away to find the Glyptodon's house. The pretty flowers seemed to draw her towards the soft and gentle light inside. Blinking in surprise, she said to herself, it can't be. It looks like my room. This is my room. Oh, well, I'll just lie down for a minute. She yawned, curled herself up under the covers. Just for a minute, she repeated, and then I'll go back to the party. And then we have this owl. And then up here is a tuck spot for this little journal card. And it has a Norman Vincent Peale quote that says, become a possibilitarian. No matter how dark things seem to be or actually are, raise your sights and see possibilities. Always see them, for they're always there. This is from actually a book for grandmother's memories. This is another page from The Night Gardener, and it has this tree of this owl here. Still forgetting the name of these. Edward Scissorhands made them. What were they? Oh my goodness, I forget the word. Dyed papers, more of that ruched pyro page, and then on this side, I created this little this little situation. So I added some fun book spine down here. Then I created a little gate here to hold on to all of our grannies. So because this is a book about grandmother Sandgran, I added all these little ladies here from an old history book, and they're all blank on back so they can be written on. So this is my little gate of Sandgrans, my little grannies here. I thought they were very sweet, so I wanted to include some grannies. Pyro has a garden of grannies. Then we have some cabbage dyed paper. Then these are weaving samples. Some years ago, I inherited the estate of a really masterful weaver, and she was the secretary of the Toronto Weaving and Spinning Guild throughout the 70s and some of the 80s. She's now passed, but these are some of the weaving samples from her many books that I received of her weavings. So I've added them here as a pocket. I felt like it was a very grand kind of thing, right? And then we have this beautiful little rose wreath journal card. It's also from my grandmother's memories book. This beautiful scrapbook paper, I believe it's 49 on Market. And then this is some ledger paper. That's the other half of that little moon page, and it has an Irish proverb. Half of my family was Irish. You've got to do your own growing no matter how tall your grandfather was. And my grandfather was Irish. Then more of the water lily pad page, some pink dyed paper, and here's Elise in a rose garden here with Sandgran looking through the windows. The sounds of the party began to fade. Her eyelids grew heavier. Over the music of Pan's pipes she could hear Sandgran's voice coming from a long way off. "Good night, Elise. Good night, Sandgran," she whispered. "Thank you for my journey." A moment later, Elise was fast asleep. Then some cabbage dyed paper. Then this is the paper cover of this beautiful book called Cakes and Custard, children's rhymes chosen by Brian Alderson, illustrated by Helen Oxenbury. I chose to include this actually as a page in the book because it was just so beautiful, and the other side actually has a pink cake on it, and it's about cakes and custards, and so there's cake in this book, and I just had to include it. So then we get into a little bit of the mermaid ephemera that I made. So we have this pocket. It says swaying plants and strange sea creatures. And then we have this strange little sea creature boy here. And there's lots of collaging going on. We've got some book spine. We've got some more book spine here and some ruche paper. There's a little boat back here and some tea-dyed lace. A little 3D flower of water lilies. And then this is a little owl. These pages, if you've been seeing them through the book wondering where they're from, it's Misguided Designs on Etsy. This side we have a little pocket here, and I added the cakes and custard part of that book page on there. And then this is a little collaged kind of scrapbook journal, little journal card for writing space. And it sparkles. And then some more purple dyed paper. And then this fun fairy page. And this is a large journal card that has this night scene of an owl and a hedgehog and a cricket. It says, "The stars are out, the moon is bright, wake up creatures of the night." Coffee dyed paper. And here we have Sandgran. There's Pan with the pipes and Elise sleeping in her bed and her dog and the clock. And then her dog is there saying, "The end." And then we have a little bit more to go after the end of the story. Some dyed papers. This little collaged pocket with this tag that has this little poem, "The Frog on the Log. There once was a green little frog, 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 who played in the wood on a log, log, log. A screech owl sitting in a tree, 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 came after the frog with a scree, scree, scree. When the frog heard the owl in a flash, 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 he leaped in the pond with a splash, splash, splash." And that is by Isla Orleans. Some more beautiful paper. Dyed purple paper. This little pocket says Magic Moon, and we have this little tag here. Another page from Misguided Designs with this beautiful deer, and then this little 3D fairy. And then a little pocket here with this collage with this bird and some round bits and bobs there. Clock in the background. And there's the other side of Cakes and Custard, and this boy sitting there eating his little cake. And then some cabbage dyed and green dyed papers. And then we reach the end, which again has this beautiful paper that I just kept simple there. So that is the end of Sandgran and the Midnight Party. I thank you so much for hanging out with me for this read-along flip through. This book is already spoken for, so it's going to be heading off to its new home sometime today. And I am so happy that I found this children's book and that it took me on this little journey. So I hope you you enjoyed. I hope you found the story nice. It had some kind of like Alice in Wonderland type vibes to me as well, about, you know, dream states. And I find I'm always so inspired when I find books about dreaming and nighttime. So hopefully this was fun for you. It was definitely fun for me. Thanks again. Also, thank you to all the new subscribers who stopped by. I hope you are having fun here so far. And I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.